One. Hello, Tom Levecki here with the latest edition of the New Theory podcast. We have some really cool stuff in the can. The last interview was with Joe Perino of Power, one of my favorite shows out probably ever, along with being one of my favorite actors. So my next guest is, without exception, an exciting guest. And this theme is Don't Drop the Soap. He's the CEO founder of SoapStandle, and it's one of the best things ever invented. It looks like an egg. You put it in the shower, you can put your soap on it, and it doesn't drop. Jimmy Gold, welcome to the New Theory podcast. How you doing today?
I'm great, Tom. Thanks very much. Glad to be here.
All right, so I'm fascinated. So okay, let's kind of build this up. So the SoapStandle. What were you dropping the soap and you're like, hey, let me put it on an egg? Like how did you come up with it?
Well, I really thought that there just ought to be a way to not drop a bar of soap. And thinking about that, it seemed like if something was attached to it so that, there was a little something on one side that it wouldn't be so slippery. So I just got some modeling clay and made a little oval and made some points on one side and baked that and almost ruined our oven and stuck it into the bar.
Can you show it? Because I am doing some video. Can you show it?
Oh, sure. The SoapStandle?
Yeah.
So that's the manufactured version. I mean, the somewhere around here I've got the original prototype, but that was made of modeling clay. But so once I did that, it worked as far as the bar not being so slippery. But what I discovered is you set it down on the shower ledge, and I noticed after a little while there was no goo forming. So there was no goo on the shower ledge and all that mess. So I thought, well, that's a positive. And then after a couple of weeks, it seemed like that bar is lasting a lot longer. So I measured it. I measured it versus other methods of what you do. Just you place it down on the sink counter, or you place it on a soap pad, or you have it in a soap dish. And I discovered that using the SoapStandle increased the life by about 20 or 30%. One thing you mentioned early, there is a distinction between just setting the bar down on this. What actually happens is this attaches into the bar. So if you've got your bar of soap, that just goes into the bar, and that stays with it. After you wash and you set it down, all the water drops off. And that's how it dries completely, and that's why no goo forms, and that's why it lasts longer, and that's why it doesn't slip.
All right, I didn't know you kept it on. All right, that's cool. All right, so what are the value propositions? Soap lasts a little longer. So I at first, I want to think about the consumer application, but the businessman in me kicks in. Wouldn't, if I was a hotel, want these? Because then my burn rate for soap would be less.
Yeah, I think for the hotel application, and I was just down in Atlanta at the America's Mart show for the second time with this, and so a lot of people are coming by, and everyone's staying in a hotel. And the consistent remark was, oh my gosh, I hate the little hotel soaps that get all gooey. This needs to be in hotel. I think the value proposition for a hotel would be not so much that they go through less soap, but that they would have much happier people staying in their hotels. Also, the staff, the cleaning staff would be pretty happy too.
Oh, that's true. I didn't think about that.
All the time.
You use soap every time, but I will tell you though, like when I have those little packets and I'm in like I'm in like a hotel and I drop one, I'll go open another one because it's easy. Like, you know what I mean? Like so I do think there's some efficacy there. All right, so
exactly.
So now give us your background, and I had Jeff Hoffman on the podcast, and he says there's three types of people. You got the inventors, you got the builders, and you got the managers. What are you?
Right. Well, for the past 30 years, I've been a salesman in the fixed income business investment world to institutional investors. So, I mean, I did that for a long time. I every day dealing in transactions on, millions of dollars of bonds and, fighting over price. But it was a great business and I loved doing it. And it was all about relationships. But when I discovered this or invented this, discovered the usefulness of it a few years ago, and I started thinking about the numbers. Just take the U.S., 320 million people in the U.S. Over 60% of the households in the country still buy bar soap. So that's 200 million people a day are using bar soap, and most of them more than twice. So that's extrapolates to 400 million uses of a bar of soap a day. And this small device makes each one, or can make each one of those uses better. Wow. It doesn't slip, it lasts longer, and there's nothing to clean up.
I used it. I had it for like a minute. I didn't use it myself, but I decided to use it when I was bathing my 6-year-old son, and it made it easier because you got to soap up and then you have to rinse, and I was able to put it down, and it probably saved me 15 more minutes in the tub, and he got to play with his Zoom, so it worked out for both. So as a proud parent, I can attest to that. So okay, so keep it simple. So you had the prototype. You were working. You obviously were doing well. So I don't see it like being an issue getting it developed, and even starting the company. When did you start to say, "Hey, I'm going to walk away from my very well-paying job and hang your hat full time on SoapStandle"?
As I continued to get it in the hands of friends, and then people that weren't just friends, and get that feedback of, wow, this works. I hate the goo, or, that's the thing that I hate the most, or I don't use bar soap because of that. And I only use liquid. And then they'd try it out. I mean, I've had people email me that said I was a total liquid soap user, and now I've gone and bought 8 bars of soap because I don't like the environmental impact of plastic. I'd like to get away from that, but just, the gooiness was overwhelming and I didn't want to deal with it. But now there's a way to deal with it. I mean, just for consumers, the single biggest reason people buy liquid soap for use in their house is to avoid gooey bars of soap. This does address that single thing. And I think it can be a game changer.
All right. Makes sense. Okay. So being a finance guy, I'm interested to hear this answer. Are you bootstrapping it, or did you take outside money?
Bootstrapping it to this point. Yeah.
Wow. So that's interesting because like I literally would have not guessed. I would think it would have been a 50-50 coin flip, because I get bootstrapping because you probably had a successful career, so you're able to. But the same token, you come from a finance background, which OPM. So okay, so you're bootstrapping. Give us your first biggest. You're a tenured salesperson, you're a tenured professional, but being an inventor, entrepreneur, like per se in this space is probably new to you. Give us your biggest screw up or the biggest like setback to date.
Well, just I have, in that each day is a new challenge, whether it's packaging or manufacturing or product material or advertising or public relations. I don't know any of that stuff. I was with a great firm and we had about 2,000 people. So I just had to go sell bonds, and anything else that came along, legal, advertising, the operations aspect, all that was taken care of by people that did that job every day. And now I'm doing all those jobs every day. So I've wasted money on, not wasted, but I've spent more than I needed to on all of those things as I've kind of burned through the experience curve that has been pretty steep for me on legal, on production, on all of those things. So today, if if I had known 3 years ago what I know now, I'd have more money in the bank relative to SoapStandle. But I like where I am, and I like still having all of it. And as we encounter opportunities, whether it's in the U.S. or abroad, I'm looking for ways to finance it too. So it may not always just be me, but at the moment, it's nice to have all of it.
Cool. Now, so you launch. What was your first sale?
Oh, I've had the website up for a year and a half, and people just stumbled across it through Google. I don't really I guess they were searching for how to avoid gooey soap. So it was, that was the first online sale just out of the blue. I sold some my wife and I were traveling to Botswana and South Africa a couple of years ago. And so I was going to be going through Johannesburg. So I sent some emails to soap related people there, and a soap store ordered 200. So that was that was really my first significant sale. And I delivered them to her store, and even got some pretty funny looks from the customs officer when he opened my bag, and he said, "What are those?"
That's funny. Now, fast forward. Where are you today, and where are you hoping to be in the near future?
Hang on one second. Let me get rid of this call.
Yeah.
Today, last January, we introduced it at the America's Mart show in Atlanta. As a result of that, we were shipping to 14 states. Over the past year, we've continued to add boutiques. We're not in every state, but we're in Washington, to California, to Michigan, to Texas, Massachusetts, to Florida. So we're filling in. We've got a joint venture with an organic soap company, the largest organic soap company in the UK. They're testing it in supermarkets. That's ongoing right now. We don't have those results back yet, but we're hoping that the results will be positive enough where they can take it into their relationships in the 7 biggest supermarkets in the UK. So that's exciting. And just talking to, some other smaller soap producers. Really the really big names that are sold commercially throughout the U.S., I don't think they want SoapStandle. They don't want something that makes their soap last 20 or 30% longer. But at some point, I believe there will be a soap manufacturer that says we will be the white hat in the industry. And so there's something available that makes our product better. It'll make our consumers happier. And even though it makes our product last longer, which in turn is better for the customer, we'll sell more soap if we have it attached to our bars. So, I've got to have that conversation at some point with someone to make that happen. And it hadn't happened yet. But I think it's a question of awareness. And as the story gets out and people realize this is available, I see that as happening at some point.
And what's the retail price point?
So one SoapStandle is retail for $4.50.
Okay.
They also come in a 2-pack for $8.99.
Sweet. I love it. How can we find you, Jimmy?
Well, it's online at soapstandle.com. It's also on Amazon. Just search for SoapStandle, just SoapStandle, and that's basically stand and handle shoved together, because that's what it does.
Is Amazon your biggest client at this point, or no?
Yeah, and that's only been up for a month and a half, and we're seeing good traction. Every week things are building, so we're excited about that. And we've just gotten good video up there, as well as on the website, and we'll be, we're taking a look at the right way to approach Facebook, And we're up on Instagram, but we're not selling really through Instagram yet. But those are all platforms that we're exploring and building upon.
Nice. Now, being an entrepreneur, you wear a lot of hats and you're busy, but you're also bootstrapping it. Are you using an outside firm, or are you kind of doing a lot of it yourself internally? How are you rolling that up?
Well, we've got a consultant to help on Amazon. That world is really complex, and there's a lot more value in having someone that knows what they're doing than me floundering around. So they're helping me. I'm looking for a firm to help me on Facebook to really accomplish the same thing in a very targeted way. On the wholesale side of things, I would love to find the right distributor contact. I haven't found the right one yet, so I'm just I'm making calls and following up.
I love it. We'll talk after. I'll send you some information. We know some pretty good people, including myself, that do that stuff. But nevertheless, I love the product. I love your story as an entrepreneur. You encompass what's right about this country and the business environment. You come up with an idea, you're willing to fund it, it can go to market. So, Jimmy, thank you for being on the New Theory podcast, and I really appreciate your time.
Thanks, Tom. Thank you very much.